Hello, loves. Welcome. It's Sonia G at Starborn Human. We have an amazing Monday Night Live tonight to finish talking about the UFOs, the orbs, the aliens, the Starbeings, and what the fuck is going on, all the conspiracies and all of the things. I'm so excited to talk about this and all the underground stuff that's happening and all the energies that are going on. So welcome, my loves. Hi, I am so excited to see you all. If you have questions, just drop them in. I'll do my best to answer. And I'm going to say this while everybody jumps on at the same time too. A couple of things. Number one, this is going to be the last official Monday Night Live that we are doing, obviously this year in 2024, because it's the last Monday, which happens to be on a new moon energy. And also this concludes a series of what has been called the Moon Babes Monday Night Lives that have happened almost every single Monday since Instagram started doing live Instagram videos. So it has been an adventure. And as we're shifting gears, so we did good. I think it was like 5 years, like seriously 5 years. There's so many. And if you want to see those archives of the Monday Night Lives, most all of them are on my YouTube, which is now called Starborn Human Society by Sonia G, because it has to be a longer title over there. So let's talk about these things. Let's talk about what's going on. Oh wait, I want to tell you one more thing. So we're going to just format new things coming January and coming 2025. A lot of things are shifting. We're going to talk about the fact that we're shifting away from moon cycles into sun cycles and the reason for that. And of course, the 12 to 13, but you guys, a lot of you already know about that, the 12 to 13 shift. And then keep in mind that I'm going to have to talk between the lines here a little bit because I already got like the band restricted situation. So when you watch this, if this is helpful for you, please just go drop some random comments and love on any other videos because that helps. Whenever I speak up about this kind of stuff, you know how it goes. Like they fact check it. So I'm going to do my best to say the things that must be said in a way that, is like it flows and it works. So let's talk about the things. I created a reel today, so welcome everybody. I created a reel today to explain a couple of things about the UFOs and the orb sightings and why it's happening. If you haven't seen it, it's explained very well. Please share it with everybody. Everybody needs to know those things. The most important thing that I want to recap here, right? And I have the Starbeings here in my background hanging out. The most important thing, okay, that you need to understand is that we are now, we're seeing it in the news, right? We're seeing it kind of everywhere. And I'm not going to repeat all of the wild things that people are saying just to grab attention. In fact, I'm going to say this. I've had a hard time even getting on social medias lately because the energy, I feel like everybody is rehashing the same things over and over, and they are all mostly a bunch of disinformation, low-grade information, things that are this small that are blown up into huge things. And everybody is talking about stuff that we have known for like decades, like it's a big deal. Don't fall into the loop of staying stuck in that layer of consciousness because there's like a suck situation going on because these are the things that we've known. Now it's okay to talk about them. So a lot of people are talking about things that are like low-key accepted on the internet that are still alternative, but like, low-key accepted, except we are here. We're not even like here, we are here, right? So we want to continue keeping the conversation here. You don't want to lower your standards just to like fit in on the internet or anywhere, right? For that reason. So let's talk about these things. So there's been a lot of sightings, a lot of things, a lot of interactions. Remember that even though we're seeing these things, like, we're here on earth, let's remember, we are crown on, divine human consciousness incarnated in a cute human body, right? You're starborn, literally born in the stars, incarnated in a human experience, in a human body. We are working now beyond earth, right? So beyond the human sphere of consciousness. So a lot of us have been doing this higher consciousness work. We bring the light into the body, light body, right? All of the higher DNA's activations, higher consciousness activations. We understand everything that has to do with beyond the human laws, right? There's the city laws, there's the state, there's the countries, there's some world agreements on planet Earth. Now we're dealing with universal law. Universal law and understanding universal law is how you can understand and you begin to understand how to interact and know what is going on with these sightings, with the star beings, with the aliens, right? All of these things. You can start to understand that. And the reason why I'm kind of taking this as a longer, explanation is because if I just tell you what's what, this sighting over here in LA was this sighting over here in California was that, it doesn't do you any good, because then you just know the thing, but you don't understand how to actually decode it, right? Teach how to fish, not just give a fish. This is the whole point. It's like, I want to teach you how to understand these concepts, because then you're better at discerning them, right? So when we're talking about higher consciousness, we have some laws that come into effect here. Number one, everybody that has worked with higher consciousness beings, okay, a lot of people at least have connected with the consciousness of Pleiadians or Arcturians, because they're the first threshold that we get to connect with, right? A lot of people right now that are in awakened communities, even though somehow they call themselves woke, don't call yourself woke. You are awakened, okay? I mean, at least if you're here with me, this is what we're talking about. A lot of people identify with origins from Orion, where the wars came in, right? Now, this is important to understand. And then there's Lyrans, there's Andromedans, there's the blue avians, there's the feathered beings, there's the aquatic beings, there's the founders, there's so many different kinds of aliens or star beings. There's also reptilians, there's the grays, right? There are so many. So the thing that we need to understand is that in 2012, our system, Earth, emerged in the galaxy, okay? So we became a part of this galactic consciousness. So now we're dealing with these universal galactic laws. One of the laws of these higher laws is the law of non-interference, okay? Everybody on the internet knows the fucking law of attraction. Everybody knows that, whether they butcher it or they actually understand it. There's a law of attraction. There's a law of vibration. There's a law of correspondence, right? There's many different laws, and you can literally Google this now. For the most part, the information is pretty accurate, right? Be careful of the commentary of it, but the principles, right, come from ancient understandings, just like everything else, like in the Himalayas, stuff that has been have to be translated and decoded out into the public because it was like hidden forever. But hermetic principles, right? Universal laws. So a lot of these are also things that like Jesus taught, and they're actually in the Bible, and they're in so many sacred writings, they're just kind of written in a different way. Number one, law of non-interference. Any civilization that is a higher level of civilization is not allowed to interfere with any other growing consciousness, kind of a planet, okay, or a sphere of consciousness, unless there is a nuclear threat. Why? Because nuclear weapons actually affect soul consciousness, and they actually reverberate all the way out in space. Like they reverberate all the way out. That's why we have like some asteroid belts, like Maldek. We have some like when you leave Earth, you see it on all the sci-fi. You leave Earth and you're navigating through the asteroid belt. That asteroid belt was a planet that blew up, right? Nuclear stuff. And when that happens, nuclear weapons, they actually fragment and scatter souls, like souls. So your soul actually would be scattered. You'd have to like take eons of time to like reconnect your soul. This is why, and it's a big deal. And then it has, because everything in the cosmos affects one another, just like the dynamics of a family, just like the dynamics of a community, right? Like we are all one, as we like to say, but we need to understand what that means. And it means that every part of the aspects of, you know, the whole existence that makes a move on something, that makes a choice, right? There's a choice, and then there's an answer to that choice. There's, you know, cause and effect. This is a law, the law of cause and effect. If you do this, then this is likely to happen. So the way that it affects everybody gives them the ability to intervene, which is the reason why there's a lot of recorded history around the world of all sorts of UFOs and alien sightings on like nuclear, where there's like nuclear weapons and like nuclear plants disarming. There's records of it that have been, you know, there's so many that have been like actually just public, but they've just been, you know, just because the records are there, it doesn't mean that they've been discredited. That's the word I'm looking for. They've just been discredited so that people are like, yeah, whatever, like not a big deal. Sure, I don't know what happened. I don't need to care. I'm like in my, you know, I need to care about these things. This doesn't affect me. And I think a lot of people in the world have operated in that way because it's like, well, that doesn't really concern me, right? Unless we actually need to get involved at that level. And I think it's also hard for a lot of people to open their mind to understanding these things because we grew up, for the most part, in a world that, you know, kept us contrived and in fear and in separation and in this patriarchal system. So really opening up to all of this understanding has been tricky for a lot of people, which is the reason why theoretically disclosure didn't happen in the 60s and the 1920s, whenever, and, you know, as far back as the Roswell crash, which has been like conspiracy theory central. The reason why this information didn't come out and they ended up putting it inside of literally comic books, where the Avengers come from, right? And all of that, it's because they didn't know that it wouldn't fragment the minds of the people, basically, on planet Earth. And so this is what they say. The other reason is they've developed a world organizations that are very covert, that are able to harness energy from humans and siphon energy so that people are kept in this kind of layer of captivity, in a sense, right? Because you just don't know better. And so unless you actually expand and learn more, then your energy stays stuck in a siphoning cycle. A lot of that cycle is known as, like, you know, jobs that we don't like all of that stuff. So now this is precedence. This is kind of like what has been going on. Why are they all coming right now? Why is it happening? What's going on? Well, 2025 is a year of solar maximum. Now, if you've been doing the ascension things, and if you've been going along this journey, you know that in ascension, we get light codes and higher activations by metabolizing, transducing, and utilizing inside of us the higher plasma light coding that comes from the sun. Okay, the intelligence and the knowledge comes from the sun. The closer we are to a cycle of maximum of the sun, right, where there's so many, remember, like solar flares right now, like the activity has been like on high. Every time there's big solar activity, we have an opportunity for downloads. We have an opportunity for integration. For a lot of people, what it is, it's ascension symptoms. It's headaches, you feel slowed down, you feel a little ungrounded, you feel out of it. But once you learn how to utilize these light codes, right, and these light bursts, then you metabolize them. It's kind of like if you don't know how to eat a thing, or if you don't know how to cook a thing, you know, and you eat it raw, it's going to give you a stomach ache. But if you like know how to cook a thing and it's meant to be cooked and you eat it well, you know, this is just an example, then it's very good for you. So it's kind of like that. You have to know how to utilize these things, okay? So 2025 is going to be this year. So what's going to happen? A lot of people are going to be like hit in the forehead, right? Like smacked in the third eye by light. And a lot of people are going to be like, I see things. It's going to be a year of awakening. Much like 2017 was a huge year. 2017, 2018, 2019 were like huge awakening years. We're going to hit another round of those, except every time it compounds. It gets higher and higher and higher. So because of this, because inevitably people are going to start communicating with like star beings more, they're going to see more things, they're going to start having the visions, the out-of-body experience, the lucid dreaming, the astral travel becomes more normal. All of this conversation is going to become more normal. What happens? The people in the places that be, not these guys, the other guys that are often found in Washington, right? And all the organizations behind that pull the strings, because you have to remember, it's not just the people that are in politics, but it's the people, the organizations and the families behind the scenes that make the most out of, you know, the oil and the electricity and the water system, like all of that stuff. That's really what's going on. It's management of a world system. And so all of those people are worried because now all of a sudden, if we're going to have, you know, our star people starting to land because we're doing our job in higher consciousness, and if we're starting to actually connect in because the bad guys are up to really bad shit, right? And there's things going on and we've hit a threshold. So rule number 2 in the universe, when you hit a level of consciousness threshold, and you, as a sovereign being, you've claimed your sovereignty and you've reached a level of frequency and higher consciousness that allows you to be in the presence of the beings, then you are, right? Then you can start to communicate with them. We do this a lot energetically in the astral travels. The majority of all of you that have worked with me have felt the hands of beings, even though you maybe couldn't see them with your physical eyes, right? You felt them on your hands. You felt them touching you. We've had exchanges because it's very, very real. You just have to develop your senses and your skills. So imagine a higher level of awakenings, right? And what's going to happen next. So this is important because knowing that this will happen, because everybody in the places that, you know, want to rule the world, let's call it that way, understand these things. They understand astrology, right? There's a meme that says billionaires follow astrology, not necessarily millionaires, because it's like the people that really understand the integration of the higher frequencies on the planet will look at the movements and, you know, the sun, obviously, biggest deal. So they know that this moment is coming. And this is, the sun has 11-year cycles, okay? So this is going to be a huge next chapter of these 11 kind of years where we're going to have this like the rocket is liftoff in 2025. So it's going to start like exponentially growing in light consciousness and understandings and meetings and connections. So the people behind the scenes over here, not these guys again over here, the people behind the scenes are like, wait, we need to make sure that these guys are confused, that they don't know, that they are not trusting of the people, that that we are still, if, you know, the star beings and the aliens come down and we end up having to negotiate with them and we end up giving free energy and free energy systems to everybody, then, you know, we still want to make money. We still need to siphon the money out of the economy. So how do we do that? Oh, we know, space wars, right? So let's figure this out in a different way. So as long as they can show and it can look like there's a threat, right? In the atmosphere, like there's these orbs, nobody understands what's going on. They're communicating with the people. Is it real? Is it a threat? Is it not? There's drones, there's unidentified flying objects, right? The military is like starting to go around and it's becoming this like weird zone of things where they're looking at convincing the people that we want help to decipher what's going on in our skies, right? So they're putting this kind of energy out there. Why? So that we're going to be like, yeah, whatever the hell laws you want to vote, like we want to be safe, build the spaceships, build all this. When in reality, they already have all that shit built. They've already connected. They already know all this stuff. This is all a show and it's all a front. Whoops. It's all a show and it's all a front because that way they can siphon the energy. You need to understand this because when you understand this, then you understand actually how to see through it, right? If you just want the answer to what the hell it is, then you're not going to understand the bigger picture. So you're only going to know, you're going to continue getting addicted to like getting the answers. So I want to really, for you to understand this. The bottom line of this conversation is that a lot of the phenomenons that are being seen and shown are not real. They're all man-made. Like, think about the effects of the AI interfaces that we all have access to now, right? You can create videos like this. You can project things. You know, think about the Sphere in Las Vegas. Think about the technology that is available. Sometimes, I mean, they control the weather, right? Like, you don't think that they're going to create shows like that and it's going to be our people against our people just to put on a show? Fuck yeah, it is. Like, you know, this is Hollywood, except it's, you know, in in Washington. Let's put it that way. It's kind of like that. So look at it discerning. Now, this does not mean that you want to actually be like, whatever, it's all fake. Because it's not. It's not all fake, okay? And the way to understand it is it depends on the way that, so that basically we don't want the few and the far in between that are actually accurate sightings, right, to fall into the big category of disinformation. You don't want to do that. The only way that you understand the difference is if you develop the intuitive higher consciousness kind of skills, right? But it's intuition on higher consciousness energy to where you actually can discern and you can tell. It's going to be easier if you practiced, but if you've never practiced and if you don't know how to do it, right, it just requires it requires understanding how to do it. Most important thing that I can tell you is this, okay? At any given point, where if you're like going down a highway or whatever, and you see something and it's like, oh my gosh, right? And it's a human response, a general human response. I mean, for some people, it might be like, oh my gosh, hey, we're here, right? But for a lot of people, it might be like, right? And it feels like it's a jolt and you feel like all of a sudden you're out of yourself, because whenever we kind of get scared or it's something unknown, the unknown always kind of puts us, and this is just, again, human response. The unknown kind of puts us on like that alert, right? Which is very similar to then the fight or flight. You want to get out of that zone. That zone is not going to serve you. That zone, and when you're in that energy, the only thing that you're going to be able to work with and communicate with, because of the law of vibration and the law of frequency and the law of attraction and all those laws, law of correspondence, right? Your broadcasts are going to be fear-based. So the only beings that are going to be talking to you are going to be beings in that state, right? Now, there's a lot of things that are going on with the Jesus orbs, or like people that are saying like things that have to do with Jesus. Personally, I think this is a psyop campaign. I think it's a bunch of bull. And I think this is my personal opinion, right? I think they want to confuse the general population about the concept of Jesus, because, you know, there's a lot of religious upbringing and there's a lot of people that are working, you know, starting to understand Christ consciousness too. So religious people on one side, and, you know, and then there's religious people on the other side, and then there's, spiritual people on the other side, and then there's the stuff that's going on. What is that going to do? It's going to dig a separation. Can you imagine all the people that are like religious right now looking at this stuff being like, that's the devil? And then the spiritual people that think they're spiritual, but they don't really know how to read this, that are like, oh my gosh, it's a Jesus orb. And now all of a sudden we have a ginormous separation, right? And opposition. And that's how, you know, that's how they win always, is creating that separation and people against people. It's the same conversation of the red against the blue, right? As long as there's a separation of consciousness and there's people that are pitting at each other for something, then, you know, the lower vibrational energies are winning. And so that's, you know, there's a lot of that's going on. Now, I love Jesus, master of light. I communicate. We work well. I understand the Christ consciousness. I understand the whole story of Jesus probably better than a whole lot of people. And I'm not saying that like in a light way, but it has taken me since I was a kid to really truly understand. As a kid that grew up in two different religions, confused as hell as all things, and then had to really understand, I had to abandon it all, and then had to understand and develop the spirituality that I now teach to be able to discern without holding any kind of, like conditioned bullshit from different religions across the world, but just really understanding the pure principles. That's why I don't have issues with like religion things right now. It's like, if it helps you, that's great. But the principles, once you understand the purity and the concepts behind it and the truth behind it, then you have something, right? And so if you've gotten there, and if you've gotten to a point where you began to understand what it meant, like for example, the concept of the blood of Christ and what that meant for the earth, if you understand blood and DNA activations and divine DNA and what the blood reconnecting with the earth does for all of the coding in the earth, this is a big deal that has been just told in a devastatingly different story, through the centuries. But if you understand that, right, and you understand the importance of it, and you understand that people are starting to truly connect and tune into the consciousness of Christ and the divinity that is available to us to rebirth inside of us, you can see why there might be a disinformation campaign to get people confused on who Jesus is or what the Christ consciousness is. Do you see what I'm saying? Like, when we put all these things together, it starts to add up. So, one of the things, let me actually take a break and see if you guys had any question. Thank you for all the love. Glad that you're on. Thank you. Okay. If you have questions, let me know now. I hope this is helpful. I see all of the love. Thank you. So the other, I wanted to talk to you about the moon and the sun too. I talked about the solar maximum being in 2025. And what's actually happening, I think we're going to have another live on that, and I'm going to explain to you more about the switch from of consciousness from the rhythms of the moon to the rhythm of the sun. But this is really the shift that I didn't understand when I had to like leave Moon Babes as a company, which was like such a hard thing for me to do this year. But then I understood. I've had to like spend a lot of inwards time and create something new, something that goes beyond, something that brings together heaven and earth on a whole new way. And this is Starborn Human, the company that we are starting, that's like behind the scenes now, and that is in, it's going to be live next year, 2025, so a few days. But it's not like anything is ever, it's like, it's only ever what we say. So it's like, I'm going to tell you this because it's the new year. If you've been waiting on something, if you've been like, I don't know if it's perfect, I don't know if it's right, I don't know if it's all of those things, if you feel like it's your mission, if you feel like it's your purpose, if you feel like you have something to say that's going to elevate the consciousness of the world, don't hold it back. Just because you don't have a perfect brand, just because your stuff isn't all figured out. We have plenty of influencers on Instagram that look perfect and they say fucking nothing. Like they add zero value besides pretty pictures, which sometimes are really great to look at. And if that's your thing, and if you communicate with beauty, that's great. If that's your mission and that's your purpose and you're fulfilled with that, that's great. For a lot of us, we came here for the next level stuff. We came here for the higher consciousness. So we can look at these things and it's like, yeah, and my soul is not fulfilled. My cup does not runneth over, this picture of your kitchen being beautiful. It's like, I want to know the real stuff. What the fuck am I doing on this planet? What are we working through? What is going on with my DNA? Why am I seeing these things? Why are these downloads coming? What is actually happening, right? How do I tie this into all the cycles of consciousness and all the layers of myself and, my galactic self, my higher self and all those things. So if you're like that person, don't hold it back. Don't play small. This is not a year to play small. So you're going to watch me, like whether or not we get the app update on, like Apple approves it and whatever, Android approves it, like we're going to move forward and we're going to just keep going because the things have to be said and we're going to do the best we can. And that's that, because we don't stop doing the job and the mission and the purpose, right? Because of those things. So love the new name. Thank you. Yes. Amazing. Yes, I did. Moonbabes was a 7-year cycle, and it was a brand name for a company that was based on the cycles of the moon. And we have learned so much, and honestly, it's integrated. It's done, right? It's done. How many of you no longer sync your moon cycle with the moon, which is not, it was never meant to be called a moon cycle. I think we call it a moon cycle because we don't want to say menstrual cycle out loud on the internet. But how many of you don't sync your menstrual cycle anymore, your monthly bleed with the moon? Not because it's an intentional thing, but because it started syncing, it started aligning with different energetic portals, with different conjunctions, it's on a different rhythm because we're shifting. And this is happening to everybody that's kind of in this transition of consciousness. So we have integrated, we've done an amazing job, right, with understanding the cycles of the moon and understanding and integrating the energy of 13. And now that it's done, and now that Pluto has shifted, and we are fully in the age of Aquarius, and Ophiuchus, which is the 13th constellation, made its activated appearance, right? This November, December. Now we're like, holy cow. You can tell the universe shifted gears, which, by the way, this leads me into that conversation about the things that have happened in Rome. And I'm going to say this in a way that is very delicate because this stuff is like highly fact checked at the moment. So the things that happened in Rome with the man that wears a big tall hat, who I am sorry to say, but like this is my opinion and you're here, and I'm not sorry to say, this is just my opinion. If it doesn't work with you, just don't listen and skip over it. But a great imposter, right, of the representation of the heavens on earth. And this man recently opened what are 5 different doors to different churches and basilicas and sacred places that hold an energy that has been kept through millennia. This is like literally the country where I grew up. If you go over there, you feel the energy of the things, right? Same things, like those of you that have traveled and have seen different monoliths and whatever not. So these energies are kept, but specifically everything that has to do with religion in the Western civilized world, right? The Western civilizations, the codes are held there. It's all in Rome, right? Like there are certain centers of power. And so what was activated right now was something that a lot of you have felt, and I'm sure a lot of you have felt, but you didn't know what happened. But there was a drop. It was an underworld that opened underneath us, and it happened right between New Year's Eve and New Year's Day. If you felt, not New Year's Eve, Christmas Eve and Christmas Day. It was like a bottom dropped. And it literally, the Mayans, I don't know if they had this as like, I don't know if it's necessarily the same things, but the Mayans describe the way that we move through time and the cycles of time, right, in ascension, where there's different places where underworlds dropped. And the moment I felt that, I was like, oh my gosh, it's a drop. It's a drop like what happened in 2012. Except in 2012, it happened, because it was 2012 and we emerged in the galaxy. And so we dropped the lower density. This one was a drop, but it felt more of a drop where those of us that knew how to land in higher consciousness had the same 2012 effect. Everybody else felt like they got a rug swept from under their feet because it's like the bottom just kind of came out because all of a sudden it opened under, right? So whenever you're ready to stay, like if you know how to fly, you don't drop. But if you are just grounded on this general level of life, and general consciousness, sadly, most of it is the collective consciousness right now on the planet, then you drop and then it feels like something is missing. But whenever you feel that, remember that there's higher grids. People like me are here on this planet to build the higher consciousness grids, right? And right now we're working with the 39th dimensional grid. In 2012, it was 5, the 5-dimensional grid. Like, we have come so far. So there's many ways that you can get yourself vibrating higher, not in the turmoil of the Wi-Fi ranges and mindset wars, right? I was watching a clip from, I need to actually make a reel with it, but I was watching something that Prince said. Remember Prince, who died of an accidental overdose, which is a bunch of bullshit, because we know that all people that tell the truth, things happen. We've seen this publicly now in our world, but he had talked about how to be careful with the internet. This was like back in the days. It was like the 80s, or maybe even before, like when I was younger. I was really young. But he talked about how you have to be careful because this is all, information is all a game, but the price of it and what's at stake is your soul. He said it in a way that I don't think anybody understood it, but he knew it back then, right? It's all a game, but what's at stake is your soul. And that's exactly what a lot of people are beginning to understand, is that if you don't actually ascend to higher consciousness, you are stuck in soul recycle mode. Okay. And everybody, like, there's a lot of people that are like, whatever, when we transcend here and we go somewhere else, of course my spirit's going to go somewhere else. Yeah. If you have created the pathway there, if you know where you're going, if you're actually a frequency match for it, not everybody goes to the same places. I mean, not every intelligence in the universe is the same. Not every soul has acquired the same amount of intelligence through time and space and planes of existence, right? It's not really like that. It's very much a disservice to human and higher consciousness, the people that say, everything is the same, we're all the same, and then we're all going to be the same on the other side, because we're not. We're clearly not. We're here as experiencing an individual expression of our soul, creating this experience that's going to add up. And ascension is such a thing because it continues to move. We continue to go, right? We continue to move forward. Consciousness continues to expand. The journey doesn't end, but the only thing we get to keep, right, the richness of our soul and the understanding of how to navigate consciousness. That's what we leave this planet with, right? It's not all the other stuff, which is the reason why through history it has been translated to, the poor people are the spiritual ones and the rich people are the ones that, they're bad and they don't understand these things. This was like such a misinformation campaign that happened through history. But that's because none of the things that you build on the planet, besides the codes that you encode, besides the actual ley line works and the coding work, like those things remain through time. The rest, if you have dynasty, if you're here like in a dynasty kind of family or in a royal family, then you come back. Right. And when you reincarnate through cycles, and you'll come back to that, thing. And people that understand that, like, the 10 families, the 10, gajillionaire families that rule the world behind the scenes understand that. They've always done that. They pass things on to generation. With royal family in England understand that. They keep passing things on and the lineage on, and they know all the things, and, and everybody has to like stay in that flow, because then they get initiated and they get to know all the things. And, when they come back, as they know that they do, because we all reincarnate in the same bloodline, same descendant lineages, then you come back into the knowingness and you don't have to like reawaken all the way again. Do you know how much easier that fucking is if we were all raised that way? But we had to awaken the hard way, but that's okay, because we're the special ones, right? Like, we are not the special ones. Like, I don't want to make anybody else feel bad, but some of us are masters of doing this, and this is our job. We have to awaken like this, right? Kind of like the example would be Jesus in this. He had to still incarnate in a human body in a family that didn't understand, all of these principles. He had to awaken himself. Okay, this is my timer. He had to remember all of this stuff and activate it all and get to that level, right, by himself. It's the same thing that we're doing. So really, he's the best example of this stuff. There's been many different examples around the world of beings that awakened within themselves. This is our job, right? This is what we're here to do. Those of us that feel, with these missions. So, there's fog everywhere. I felt that energy. Oh, from the Rome things and that opening of stuff. Yeah. So it's going back to that conversation, right? There will always be good and evil. It's a thing of duality here on planet Earth in this density, okay? Now remember that consciousness and density is layered. So multiple dimensions are actually happening all at the same time, but because we are focused on this one, we often don't perceive the other ones until we train ourselves to understand different things. So, when certain energies are open, notice if you feel more of the battle of the mind, going on, or more of your, the things that you have to do to take care of yourself, truly energetic self-care, true self-care, true light body self-care. That's really important right now. So I want to tell you this, and then we'll probably have a part 2 to this because, there's so many things to say. But a lot of things also cannot be said here. And a lot of things are on the internet. There's a lot of disinformation. So learn to develop your higher senses. Learn to develop your intuition, your discernment. It's time that we know, right? If somebody materializes in front of you, will you trust your emotional intelligence, your energetic intelligence, and your spidey senses, right? Your superpowers to know who they are. Will you be able to recognize them? If, something's flying around, will you be able to tell what the intention is? If it's good, if it's bad, what what it's in your aligned situation to do. So obviously, because of all these things, and this is my job, this is I started teaching astral travel on the internet back in 2017 when people were still wait, what? Now it's starting to really be a thing. We understand that it's part of our divine inheritance, that we get to access and reconnect with points of consciousness that are actually ourselves through time and space and planes of existences. And knowing these things makes all the difference, because especially all of us that are ADHD, right? Life finally makes sense because you're exchanging information. It's bing, 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 with all the different layers of who you are in life actually makes sense. So, yes, this will be saved, Adrian. Yep. Absolutely. And we'll talk about it more. But here's what we're doing, and here's what I'm going to do. I actually was with this for a really long time. It took me a month to decide how I wanted to do this in 2025 and make it available, and teach the things that I meant to teach, most of them that I can't really say here on the internet anymore. And I decided this is what we're going to do in 2025. There's going to be one ongoing thing, and it's going to be the Starborn Human Mastermind. We're going to go by a rhythm of 13 constellations. And of course, it's going to be held in 12 calendar years, okay? And what I'm going to do is every month, according to where the sun is at, just the different months of the year, and according to what star beings and star systems are closest to those constellations, I'm going to teach you how to get to know them. So every month is going to have, you're going to get to know the Arcturians, the Pleiadians, the Lyrans, the Blue Avians, right? We're going to go all the Orion lights, the founders, we're going to get into the Alpha Centauri. We're going to go into all sorts of different systems And I've actually been working on building a map so that you can actually understand where they come from. That's accurate. That's not the stuff that's flying around the internet where people are like, oh, this is what it looks like, right? And so we're going to do that. But I really wanted to create an experience that's integrated, because it's important now that we understand that we are dealing with and we're operating with star consciousness, that, you know, this exchange is inevitable one way or another, right? Whether we perceive it and we understand it correctly or we don't, right? And whether we have access to working and teaming up with our star people, right? The star beings, not the aliens made up from, you know, the people in the places that be, as we say, but that we actually understand how to communicate and what it means for us to receive these divine inheritance, this divine knowledge that was always meant for us, right? And reconnect to our like star roots and truly understand what it means. But at the same time, I can't just teach you about that, because, you know, we're still dealing with light body health. We still got DNA to upgrade. We've got like prosperity manifesting. We want all to, you know, to manifest that divine partnership kind of love. We want all the fucking things. And so, and we get to have them. We get to have them. So the best way that I thought I could structure this for you is to do it in a mastermind, and we're going to hold it on Telegram, and there's going to be voice notes, and then we're going to have experiences where you're going to get to meet the people. So if we're talking about the Arcturians, I'm going to take you on a journey to meet the Arcturians, and you're going to meet them, and you're going to have a physical experience of it. And now you'll be like, I know Kung Fu, right? Like that moment in the Matrix, but like you will know them. And then if you like, and you can go back to it, right? This is the beautiful thing about the recordings. Everything that we do in the mastermind will also be available to log in on the app, which is now called the Moon Babes app, but will soon be the Starborn Human app. So you'll have that, and you'll have the records, and you can go back and do it whenever. And then we're going to have an active mastermind, right? So I'm going to drop knowledge in there for you, literally in you also. And we're going to mastermind about the different groups. So whatever questions you have as you refine your understanding, what do they smell like? What do they feel like? How do they communicate? What does their voice sound? What are their names like? Where do they come from? What do they feel like? Really get to understand them. Like you're really starting to create and develop an awareness so that, you know what you're doing in the world. This is going to be like the next, like, we needed doctors for a time. Not that that's not still needed, because it's, but at a certain time there were like stockbrokers and real estate agent. Guess who people are going to look for? They're going to look like star being transducers. They're going to look for people that are like, I need a star translator. I need somebody who speaks higher consciousness and can tell me what these people are saying, right? That's going to be you once you learn how to do this work. So we're building a whole new era, because especially if you have been doing this work for like the ascension work for a while, this is the next chapter, and you know it. Like this is coming one way or another, especially with all the AI stuff and everything that's happening. We have to know what's what. And so this is the best thing that I can do, is teach you these things. And then at the same time, every month, we're also going to focus on things like prosperity or confidence, or we're also going to have like confidence and beauty and different things, because I feel like that's a big topic these days. We're going to do mindset. We're going to do belief systems. We're going to do cash flow and prosperity. So every month we're going to have a very human theme, but every month you're also going to get to know a specific star group. And every month we're going to do an astral journey. Okay. So it seems like a lot, but because we're doing it in a mastermind format, and we're going to be like voice note downloads it, and we're going to talk about it. It's very easy and very flowy and very much like, oh my gosh, this is normal. Like, I want you to integrate it. I want you to truly live with like star access integrated on planet Earth. So that's like my goal. It's called the Starborn Human Mastermind. Right now it's on pre-sale. Okay. And you're going to want to be in it for at least 6 months, because then I can teach you some things, but it is a 12-month journey. And so 13 star months, 12 earth months kind of journey. And I'm adding more details, but if you're curious about it, if you already want to check it out, and if you already know, because you're like, oh my God, this is the thing I'm doing, this is it. Like, I am all in on this in 2025. This is what we're doing. And then we're going to have retreats. So if you want to work with me, this is the way. And the price will go up, of course. But I always do this for you guys, like, especially those of you that work with me a lot, like, catch the pre-sale, because if you've been waiting for this. And then, what was I going to say? Oh, we're going to have retreats in addition to that throughout the year. Area 27 will continue to exist. It's a very intimate, amazing, like, powerful souls group. So if any of you want more than what is inside of the mastermind, then message me and ask me about Area 27. That's where we do the galactic work, and we'll continue to do the higher, like the special ops kind of work in the cosmos. And you're also going to have an option later on in the year. You're going to have an option to upgrade to working with me VIP, to where you actually have sessions one-on-one in addition to the mastermind. Okay. So, and if you feel like something, you're like, hey, can you do this and this and that, right? Like, just message me and ask me. I do know that there's a couple of courses that I'm really wanting to birth this year. And this is going to be a different thing than the mastermind. One is on sacred health. One is called Turned On. And it's about, like, the connection of all of the circuitry. So I really want to birth those. And everybody that's in the mastermind, once I launch the courses and they're available, you'll get a deal on them. So if you're on the mastermind, you'll get a deal on them. It's not part of it, but you can you'll be able to upgrade that. Once I'm very clear, like, you can feel that I'm crystal clear on this mastermind, how I want it to be, how I want it to go, what I'm going to teach you, like how we're going to do this, how I want you to be on the other side of it. Man, you're going to be like star integrated consciousness, spiritual motherfucking rock star at the end of 2025. Can you imagine in a year, like, you'll look back, right? We'll have the same conversation at the end of 2025 and you'll be like, oh my God, I know all the star races. I know their ships. I know what they feel like. I know what they smell like. I understand my lineage. I understand where I come from. I can have a conversation with them. I can translate. I know what's actual channeling and what's not. I know how to do this. I know how to recognize, and at the same time, you're like, I feel really solid on, like, my manifesting skills, or, like, a physical human reality. Like, we're going to have the most mind-blowing conversation at the end of the year. And I'm going to take you through a full journey. I'm so excited because I know everybody that has been in the past with me, we didn't do it in 2024, but in the previous years, we had what was called Extraordinaire. And it was like the all-inclusive, whatever I was doing for the year kind of programs. And everybody that did those programs for the full 12 months, they had amazing life-changing experiences, right? Because you actually are committed to your growth. And you have, a rhythm of learning and of growing and of, amazingness, as we call it. Okay, we've been on for a long time. I will save this if it lets me download. I'm also going to put it on YouTube. So go to my YouTube. Okay, the link to the Starborn Human Mastermind, which, by the way, go look at that graphic. I'm going to share it with you in stories. But there are several layers of images that took me days to actually, like, really encode in the vibe. And that is the vibe. That is the vibe. I'm so excited for it. I make all my graphics because they're very, like, packed with frequency. And I'm excited for it. It's in the link here in my bio at Starborn Human. And it's the first at the top. Okay, go check it out because it's like, I don't know if it's like 60 or 70% off, but it's like pre-sale right now, which I generally don't do this much of a pre-sale at the very beginning, but I want to because as many of you as want to be in it, and if you need a 2-week payment plan right now, the way that Stan Store works, they let me only have like monthly draws, but if you need like the bi-weekly, like split that payment in 2, message me if you want to get on that pre-sale deal because it's ridiculous right now. Okay. So I love you. Oh, and do you know what's amazing too? wasn't going to tell you this until like later when I added more details, but we're going to start doing the calendar. This is a 13-month calendar. Do you guys remember inside Moonbabe Society, so many people loved the calendar with like the keywords and the transits. This is going to be an actual true sky accurate, like not just the stuff that's like, it's kind of off. Is it sidereal? Is it Western astrology? But actually according to what's happening in the true sky, like true sky astrology, 13 signs. So inclusive of that 13th sign, inclusive of a ficus, which is the serpent, which this year, you know this, in Chinese astrology, is the year of the serpent. So like everything adds up. This is like everything you need in a bow. It's all like, amazing. And we're also going to do that. So you're going to have a downloadable calendar that's going to start. I was going to start it in March because, you know, the March equinox actually marks the beginning of the new, like the true cycle, right? Astrological cycle. But I think I'm going to have some, you know, before we make it all pretty and amazing and everything else, you'll still get downloadable information because we want to understand these transits and how they feel too. That's a whole thing. So yes, I'm so excited. Okay. I love you. I'm going to go have dinner. Message me if you have questions. Again, it's Sonia G at Starborn Human. And if you have questions about me, if you're new here, go and surf my like videos through a little while. I need to put together like an introduction. But I have been a metaphysical teacher, an astral travel teacher. I'm certified in a million different ways. And I've been at this forefront of ascension, like a cosmic galactic guide for so many since 2017, like frontlining it here on the internet. And before that, since 2007. So I'm one of those old souls that has answers. A lot of people are like, you know, you'll come to me when you're like, there's a lot of stuff out there, but I want the truth, right? And I'll say it. And I'll say it to the best that I can in a way that isn't like crazy. It's not fluff. I don't fluff things. I say it like it is. And also in a way that like holds integrity and holds like alignment and holds truth. I'm not going to do sensational shit just to sell you something. It's not going to be like, oh my God, right? There's so many things. Like I get so frustrated. I see so many like light workers out there on the internet, like just doing the sensationalism, you know, like, oh my gosh, like so scary or so this. And it's like, you know, we want to be creative. Creative is good, but you don't have to like, you know, like, I don't know. That's just me. I don't want to sensationalize something because to me, this is the stuff we came for. This is good. This is a good thing. It is happening for our higher consciousness ascension. So if we do this 2025 right? Like, why is it happening for us? We get to hang with our people, you know, like we actually get to hang with parts of us that are going to feel like family, that are star family. We get to reconnect. Like, you know, we are the people, literally the living humans that before, you know, our day comes to exit this life, we're going to, you know, go back and forth. Like we're going to get to the point where we can project consciousness. Like forget starships. We're going to be able to actually take consciousness in other places, right? We're going to be able to just move. Once we really understand how to utilize these principles and we get these codes that are coming in next year, you know, in 2025, we're really going to be able to utilize our higher consciousness connections and get access to all sorts of things. Like our brain's going to go on, our DNA is going to go on, the libraries of knowledge around the universe, you know, this galaxy are going to go on. Earth is going to be like birthing all sorts of new information. I mean, it's like the renaissance of the star people is beginning in 2025. So come be a part of it. Join me. Again, the link is here at Starborn Human in my bio. I love you. It's Sonia G. Go read about me wherever you'd like or ask me any questions. I love you. I'll see you soon.